Hey everyone, this is Steliafty with Close.io, and in today's video, you're going to learn all the ways that SaaS founders either completely and grossly misunderstand their own churn or just flat out bullshit you when they talk about their churn numbers. So I was having coffee today with a SaaS founder, and we talked about the business. We talked about the future of the business. It's a SaaS product that is well known. I'm not gonna put them out there, but it's doing millions of ARR. It's a well-known brand, and it was a great founder. We had a great chat. We exchanged war stories. We had a lot of fun. Eventually, the topic went to one of the most infamous and important and devastating and exciting topics when it comes to running a SaaS business, which is what's your churn, right? What is the churn like in your business? And that founder or that CEO of that SaaS business looked at me and said, well, our churn is 3.8% last month. And I said, oh, okay. What kind of churn is that? Was that customer churn, revenue churn, seat churn? Was that gross or net? And the founder looked at me with really big eyes and went, oh, that is a good question. I don't know. I'm just, I'm getting these reports from my customer success team, and it says churn and it says the number, and I only pay attention to that. I'm so glad. I've never thought about churn in this depth and detail. I'm so glad you're bringing it up, Stelly. I need to get back to my team and figure it out. Wow, you're running a SaaS business that makes millions in ARR and you have no fucking clue about your churn. And that's just one example. It's an example of ignorance, but I've met many, many founders in the past that were touting how great their churn numbers are or how massive churn has declined for their business. But then when you examine it, they just bullshit you. They just gave you the most rosy version of churn they could think of. So I thought it was time to break churn down, at least churn numbers in the way you can think about it, so that number one, if you're a SaaS founder, you understand your ABCs of churn. So you're not ignorant when you run your own business and ignorant when you look at these numbers, completely misunderstanding their meaning. And also when you talk to other SaaS founders, and they tell you about their great churn numbers, you learn to look beyond the facade and ask a few questions to really compare apples to apples and not compare your, let's say, net churn number with their gross churn number or vice versa. So let's break this down. This is not that difficult, so we'll go step by step. Now, churn, for you who don't really know, is the expression of customers' revenue that is canceling in your subscription business, in your software as a service business. Now, churn is a complicated metric because there's a lot of ways to look at it and a lot of ways to analyze it and break it down. So let's go through them step by step to enlighten all of us when it comes to churn from a SaaS perspective. So number one, there's multiple ways of churn. I can think immediately on top of my head of three types of churn. If you run a subscription business, you can have revenue churn. So how much revenue did you lose that month? You could have customer churn, the number of customers you lost that month or the percentage of your customers that you lost that month. And you can have, if you have a seat-based pricing model like Close.io has, right? A customer can add more and more and more seats to their subscription. You can have seat churn. So how many seats did you lose from existing customers? Or what was the percentage of seats that were lost this month? Revenue, customer, and seats, those are all interrelated, but they're not the same. You could have massive revenue churn one month, but actually have great customer churn because it was only your biggest customer that canceled. You only had one customer canceling this month. In the total number of customers that you had, this might not be that bad. Maybe you have 100 customers, you had one customer that churned, that's just 1% churn, right? It is not great, but it doesn't sound horrible. But if that customer was your biggest customer and accounted for 20% of your revenue, well, then you had a horrible churn month when it comes from a revenue perspective. I mean, you see how the way you look at those numbers can completely alter the way your business looks to the outside world, or how healthy it's perceived, or how healthy you think it is. So these things matter, and they matter a lot from the way you think about your business and its health. Customer churn is an indicator you need to look at. Revenue churn is an indicator you need to look at. And seat churn is an indicator you need to look at. Seat churn, if you have lots and lots of seat churn, but it's always maybe from your smaller customers, or it's always from your larger customers, but it's actually the lowest level plan seats, that might tell a totally different story about what's going on in your business than if you have massive revenue churn because your biggest customers are constantly and continuously growing out of your service and out of your product and leaving you to go to the competition. Although all your tiny customers stay with you and are completely happy and successful. These things change the way you look at your business and the health that your business has today. So first, three types of churn: revenue, customer, seat. Then we can look at churn from another 2 points of views. We can look at churn from a monthly subscription perspective, or we can look at it from a total customer perspective. Now, what's the difference? Well, let's say 50% of your customers are signing an annual contract. These 50% of your customers, let's say we have 100 customers, these 50 customers cannot churn this month. They can't churn next month either. The first available chance for them to churn is in 12 months. So if you count all of your customers, the 100 customers, although 50 of them are under contract and can't cancel, if you take the 100 customers that you have and you look at, 10 of them canceling, then you could say, our churn was 10%. Our customer churn was 10% this month. But if you say we only are counting the churnable accounts in our churn, only the monthly subscription, because only the customers that are not under contract, only the ones that can actually cancel, then you only take 50 and 10 of them cancel. Well, that's not 10%, that's 20% customer churn. That's double the number. See how we can tweak these numbers to tell a story the way we want them to. Now, some founders utilize that knowledge. They're not ignorant. They know their shit, and they use those things, those nuances, to get to the smallest number possible to tell to, investors, to the press, to potential hires, or just to friends when they brag at SaaS events and parties. Don't be a fool. When people give you their churn numbers, dig deep to understand what that number truly represents. Some founders, like the founder I met earlier today for coffee, is just plain ignorant. They didn't know. They're like, well, I get the reports from the customer success team and it says churn. So I don't know, whatever that is. I assume that's revenue, but I don't know. And even if it is, what about customer and seat churn? And is it, just purely based on monthly subscription, or all customers, even those that are under annual contract? And then to even go a level, above that, we talked about revenue, customer, seat churn. We talked about churn based on monthly subscription versus churn based on all customer accounts, including the ones under contract. But then even another level to this is gross versus net churn. Gross churn is basically, you had 100 customers. Let's say on a revenue basis, you can't really do this on a customer basis, but let's say you have 100 customers and then, a bunch of them add a ton of new seats or upgrade to newer plans. So they have, your customer base is growing in terms of how much money you're making with them, but then a bunch of your customers have canceled or downgraded or deleted some seats. Now, if you look at the gross number, you only look at all the things that have all the ways that your revenue has decreased, and you just report that number. If you look at the net churn, you take all the growth that has decreased, all the revenue that has decreased from your current customer base, and you actually subtract the churn that has the revenue that has increased. So if some customers are giving you more money and some customers are giving you less money, you take these two numbers and you get to the net number. And that net number hopefully is actually positive. It means actually that you are making more money this month with your customer base than last month, not less money. So that's also an important factor, because some people will just say, hey, we have no churn at all. We're at 0%. Is that gross or net? Because I have a difficult time believing that no customer whatsoever in your business is ever canceling, right? So these things, these nuances are important for you to be able to really grasp what the churn really means, what the meaning behind the numbers is, and where you have to pay attention to. And it's important because too many people are manipulating the numbers to bullshit you. And if you're a founder, I at least don't like to be bullshit. Now, in some cases, it's non-consequential, right? One founder talks to another. They might make you feel a little inadequate, but there's no real massive consequence to it. If you're an investor and you don't truly understand the way churn works and you don't dig deep, it might have massive consequences. But either way, I'm just annoyed that people just throw out a churn number and other people just accept it without truly understanding what it means. Beyond all this, the bullshit talk, one more thing that I want you to focus on if you track your churn and you are working hard on improving that number is that you want to understand the reasons for churn. Not just what is happening, but why is it happening? Because some companies are breaking down their churn between avoidable and unavoidable churn, right? Some things happen, like if you serve a specific customer base, well, some of my friends would say all churn is avoidable, right? I had this conversation with my good buddy Lincoln Murphy once, and you know, to the one extreme from a philosophy perspective, you could say all churn is avoidable. Well, this business went out of business. You know, this customer went out of business. How is that avoidable to us? We can't make the business not go out of business. Well, if you put it to an extreme, you could say if we served them better, if we made sure they're more successful, we could have helped in the overall success of that customer, maybe kept them alive as a business. That is what you should be striving for. But the reality is that it is a fair question to ask, you know, how many of our customers are going out of business? How many of our customers are churning because of reasons that are things we're not gonna tackle? So these people will always be leaving, or at least, and these customers are leaving for reasons that are completely avoidable. And also, which of these churn reasons affect what kind of a strategy that you run? Maybe your marketing is attracting the wrong kind of customer that's going out of business very early. Maybe you need to grow up market to larger and larger businesses because these small customers are churning at a too fast of a rate to make your business healthy. Maybe you need to build a certain feature or functionality to keep up with your growing customer base and their needs and to service them better. Maybe you need to spend more time educating your customers on things in your product and activating them so they get more out of your product, because most people that churn because they've never used your product and they've been paying you for months. Whatever it is, and usually it's a bunch of reasons, and these reasons are constantly changing and evolving, you need to stay on top of it to know what's happening and then to be able to formulate a strategy to improve those numbers. So I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this. Maybe there's even more ways to look at churn, more perspectives at analyzing, philosophizing around churn that you want to share with me. Make sure to leave a comment. If you've been bullshitted recently, you're not alone. Don't feel bad about it. I hope this video was enlightening. And if you were just a little bit more ignorant than you should be, I mean, we've all been there. There's not a single founder that hadn't had a phase of ignorance where later we realized, oh shit, I should have known about this thing, but I totally ignored it or wasn't aware of it. Then you're a human being. You know, congratulations. Don't beat yourself up over it. Hopefully this video, even if it just helps one other founder to understand churn at a deeper level, it was worth the time, and I'm proud of that. I'm happy we had this experience together. Make sure, if you have more questions about churn, to send me an email at stelly@close.io, and to go to blog.close.io and subscribe to our blog. We publish 2 to 3 times a week, highly tactical, highly strategic content for SaaS founders. I hope that you like it. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.